7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
This is it. Welcome to MTV Music Television, the world's first 24-hour stereo video music channel.
You know, being a 80s baby and a 90s kid, I was born and raised on music videos. Hell, you can credit BET and MTV for starting my DJ career. And of course, Hot 103 Jams when I listened to the radio all the time because that was like our only music source growing up. Those are my only music sources. It was the radio with Hot 103 Jams, BET, MTV. And that was more than enough back then. No phones, no internet, no none of that. I'm talking mid to late 80s to early to mid 90s. And so it's sad to see the news that the music on MTV will no longer be. And it's the end of an era, even though that era ended a long time ago. You know, but Paramount, you know, they're shutting down several dedicated music sources like MTV Music, MTV 80s, all of those little different channels. And I get it. Even I don't watch MTV today. It's not in my jurisdiction of entertainment. As I am, you know, I'm not in the MTV demo no more. I was out of that a long time ago. But it's sad to see it go because again, I grew up watching MTV. Like that was literally a big part of my day. It was listen to the radio and or watching TV or playing Nintendo. But watching MTV and BET for my music fix, watching the Chiefs, wrestling, big part of my youth. Some cartoons, like I was into all the other stuff in reality more than I was cartoons. I didn't watch a whole bunch of cartoons. I may watch like 7 or 8 cartoons faithfully. That's it. Like Ninja Turtles, some CBS Saturday morning cartoons, Power Rangers. I don't know if y'all count that as a cartoon, but after Power Rangers, my cartoon watching was done. I was 100% in on Chiefs and music after that. But there was so many iconic shows that used to come on MTV, and they had a bunch of little silly shows too. But one of the first shows I remember watching on MTV was a show called Remote Control. Y'all, it used to scare the shit out of me.
Oh. Gina, you and your womanly body are about to go through the wall.
It was a show about pop culture and TV, and they would literally be sitting in these lazy boys. It would be 3 contestants, and they would have a remote in their hand, and that's how they would, you know, buzz in on some of the answers, and they would have to answer I remember they had at the end of some of the shows, I'm not sure if it did it during the whole duration, but you'll be sitting in this big ass lazy boy and you would have to pick the music videos. You had to guess the music videos just by what they look like. You couldn't hear them. You could just see clips of the music videos and they would have to guess them. And that would be like their grand prize, you know, winning contest or whatever it was at the end. But the thing that scared the shit out of me about remote control in this show was when a contestant exited the game, when they were done, when they you know, were kicked out of the game or whatever, the damn lazy boy would fly back and these monsters or something, they will be grabbing onto these people and stuff. The real 80s babies know what I'm talking about with the show Remote Control, dog. As you know, this lazy boy would come back and the door would bust open and these monsters would start grabbing them and stuff. So that's why it scared the shit out of me. It was a great show though. Some other shows that I remember watching faithfully on MTV, and this is super old school MTV. This is like their second era MTV, like mid to late 80s MTV, with Club MTV when they used to play a lot of house music, a lot of like Baltimore, house music and stuff like that. I don't know if they was calling it EDM back then, but kind of that type music in Club MTV with Downtown Julie Brown. I used to watch that all the time because I just wonder what it looked like in a club. Like I was like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. And I'm like, oh, so that's how they get down in the club like that. Mid 90s now, MTV Jams, I think it was called, with Bill Bellamy. He was hosting that at first, and then Tyrese was hosting it in the late 90s. And then, of course, MTV Raps. Just that's probably my favorite show from MTV because I remember so many nights, and I've talked about this with my brother. It was so many Friday nights and Saturday nights where we would be watching MTV Raps, and it became stitched into my life and into my childhood growing up. So, all the versions of MTV Raps with Fab Five Freddy and with Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. Legendary shows. Beavis and Butthead. You used to watch that too. Beavis and Butthead was interesting because it was like it was we ain't never heard cartoons talk like that. Like people thought The Simpsons was edgy, and they were for their time. Early on, like 88, 89, 90, they were. But Beavis and Butthead took it to an ignorant level. They took it to another level. The difference with The Simpsons and Beavis and Butthead is that The Simpsons were on network TV with Fox, and Beavis and Butthead was on MTV, which is cable. So they can kind of get away with a little bit more. And then a really, really super low key show, if you was really, really into MTV back in the day, like how I was, it was this thing called Liquid TV, Liquid Television. And if you're familiar with them, it was a movie called Aeon Flux that came out several years back. That was one of the cartoons. It was an adult cartoon, not an adult like X-rated adult, but it was for adults. That cartoon used to come on Liquid Television on MTV, like 1991, 92, something like that. And then all the Michael Jackson memories I got from MTV, because they used to show, I don't know why they would do this, but it would be like once every 2 months or something like that. They would show the making of Thriller, like the entire making of Thriller documentary. Like it was like an hour or 30 minutes or something like that. I can't remember. But they would show that on MTV all the time. And I remember watching that with my older brother John a lot. And of course, all the MTV Music Video Award moments. I didn't really watch the movie awards, but I used to watch the Video Music Awards. But all of those things with MTV and how they are such a huge part of pop culture and a huge part of my life growing up, because like I said earlier, it that's where my DJ career started, because that's where I started to learn culturally about not just our music, because they first of all, MTV wasn't even playing black music or R&B music like how BET was at all. They were playing Michael Jackson. They would play the hip hop on the MTV Raps, and they would play like some of the popular, Janet Jackson. You got her on there. Maybe you get a few Bobby Brown records on there. Man, some Jody Watley, but like some Alexander O'Neal. Nah, you gonna get that on BET. You ain't gonna get that on MTV. Like that real R&B stuff. But it was a big part of me growing up and learning about all music and not just hip hop and R&B. House music, you learn about grunge, the early 90s stuff, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, all that stuff, the pop music in the late 90s and 2000s with NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears and all of that. You learn about so much music if you watch MTV growing up. And I think that has shaped into what people like and how people have evolved into liking more music and to being into to more stuff and being open about the music that they like. I think MTV played a big part in that. I do. But people ain't watch MTV for music videos in over 20 years. That been done. That been gone. To me, since the turn of the century, since the millennium, that's when people stopped watching TV for music videos. That's especially when YouTube launched in '06. Please. When YouTube got to cracking and people were starting to exclusively upload their videos on there and just start to be on there all the time, it was done for MTV. So I'm surprised that it's last this long. To be honest with you, them having music and incorporating music into to what they do, even though it's called music television. At this point now, MTV is a brand. It doesn't represent music television. It represents their brand and the type of programming that they want to incorporate, which now is probably 100% reality TV, or wilding out and ridiculousness and all that other stuff that they done had over the years. But it's just an evolution of people's TV viewing habits, man. All the way, people used to bitch and complain about MTV in the 2000s, early 2000s, late 90s. Hell, they would be like, "Well, yeah, MTV, the place where they used to play music videos," because they were incorporating road rules and the real world and all these old different reality shows, Jackass. They were incorporating all those shows into MTV and making it more of a network instead of it being just a music channel. So people been bitching and complaining about MTV and what they've been doing for years. So don't let nobody tell you that this ain't been happening, because it has. It's just a sign of the times. It is. But salute to MTV, the creators of it, the people who thought ahead with how music can be seen and heard, because it definitely took the music industry to a whole other level. So, man, I'm gonna miss MTV and what it was, but you will always remember for what you did for me.